Hello and welcome back to the Anything But Quiet Time podcast. We are Rachelle and Carder, and this is our Advent series. Will you go ahead and...
Do you want me to do it?
Light it up!
We're going to light up the candles. We have 4 weeks
Yeah.
in preparation of Jesus's birth, but also representing his future coming, the second coming of Christ. So Advent, last week we talked about hope. This week we're going to talk a little bit about peace.
Whoa.
Yay, it worked!
Oh my goodness.
Like moments ago, it didn't.
If you want to watch this and the very, very intense lighting
It's like
of
a
the
Christmas
candles.
tree lighting of a town central.
They don't allow flames in here, so it's very, very chill.
Actually, I didn't even ask if they'd allow flames.
They
but
wouldn't allow
I just
flames.
figured with my name attached to any request like that.
It's actually a rule because your name's
of
attached to it. Yeah. So if you want the video link, just text the word quiet to the number 893-893. This week we are talking about peace, but at church, since we started the Advent series, our pastor talked about hope. And
Did you tell him it was a little late?
a little late. I know. We already
could have
released
really used his notes.
I know. But he gave one quote, which I think you referenced Tim Mackey last week, maybe. I mean, you have before. Tim Mackey's from the Bible Project. And this quote, biblical hope isn't optimism based on the odds. It's a choice to wait for God to bring about a future that's as surprising as a crucified man rising from the dead. Christian hope looks back at the risen Jesus in order to look forward.
Yeah, that is Tim Mackey.
And
I remember hearing that in preparation for.
Yeah. I just think...
It's so good, isn't it?
I know we kind of gave that last week, and you can go back to that episode, but just the idea of if you're on a deserted island and you could sit here and say some fluffy things, they'll find us. They'll find us. They'll find us, I promise. But there's not really a hope until you've put the logs in the shape of the word help or lit some flames. Until there's something there, you don't really have hope. And that's what Jesus is. He is the literal hope that we can cling to.
You know, what's interesting, though, about that is that Jesus did not come into this world until where we see him on the timeline, right? So what about the hope of the Old Testament times, What logs in the fire? Well, the prophets came in.
Yep.
And they start sharing this is going to happen. And they knew it was going to happen because they were told it was going to happen. And how you can tell whether or not a prophet is really a prophet and not a false prophet, the stuff that they say becomes a reality.
That's right. Yeah.
So they're like, what did Isaiah say? Because the things that he said in the past came true. And he's talking about a baby being born. All this stuff is being prophesied. And so those are the things. And still today, unfortunately, many people in Jewish circles, and I say unfortunately because they don't see Jesus as Messiah,
right.
They're still waiting for that first coming. And so they're preparing their hearts for the first appearance when we've already said yes to Jesus, and we are now preparing our hearts for the second.
That's right.
Which leads us to peace.
Peace, the Prince of Peace, actually, in Isaiah. That is one of those prophecies.
Yes.
That is Jesus, yeah.
And that's really a part of what shalom is all about, what it's meant to be about. When we talk about Jesus, we understand what words are really supposed to mean. Like our full realization only comes because of understanding who Jesus is. We may know bits and pieces, but it's still not fully realized. We know about love. We love people. We fall in love, those types of things. But it's not until we literally see the self-sacrificial love that we understand what it is to serve and truly love somebody. And I think we see that as soon as we become a parent, that you would gladly lay your life down for your child, right? And you start to realize, it's a little bit deeper here, in this type of feeling. Feeling. Feelings are fleeting. We know that love is actually more than just verbiage. It's not just action. It is also a person. And it says that in 1 John 4.
And it's a verb.
That God is love. Well, verb means action, you silly. Okay.
You silly.
And showing love by changing my word to silly.
That was good, yeah.
But peace was realized in the person of Jesus, our Prince of Peace. And shalom in the Old Testament, that is the word we see for the word peace. Shalom, basically, it's not like absence of war, which I think that's generally what we think of if you've ever heard the song, War is over if you want. It's the longest. I don't know why I was going to sing it on the beat because that would take forever, that John Lennon song. So pretty, though. And you think about the absence of war would be lovely. But we know that not everybody's ever going to get on the same page, because when people try, still things get broken and people's wills override. And that's why it has to be thy will, God. Thy will be done, thy kingdom come. And through Christ, we recognize what peace is. Shalom actually means complete. So if, let's say, you get that Lego set for Christmas and your little guy's trying to put that thing together, but a couple pieces are missing, then he does not have full shalom. If you've got all the pieces to the bike that you're putting together before Christmas, which who does that anymore? I think they're already made, right? You get your
that's a good point. I don't really know. Yeah.
But back in the day, okay, when you're setting up the swing set, there's something. When you set up that swing set and you know that you're supposed to have all these parts because it was made in some foreign country and they only label them by numbers and don't even describe anywhere, it's just a picture. Mm-hmm. What if a piece is missing? You don't have shalom. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody had all of their sheep in the bin and they were good and they were in the stall and they came back home safe, they had shalom. If they had a few missing, then you don't have shalom. So there's something that's not complete. It's not whole. There's parts of the building that are missing. Jesus came to give us full shalom, to complete what we've been missing. So we've got parts of understanding of love, parts of understanding of hope. Like as a human race, we have an understanding of things, but as, that Plum song, God-shaped whole, we have these little bursts of understanding because God has given us a base understanding through how he made us, how he designed us to be, that we could be in communion with him, to understand fully, to have full shalom about these things. And peace, it would be great if we had no war, but people are always going to have opinions. So how do you make sure that you're all on the same page? It's if your opinions all rest on the same laurels, right? Yeah. That's how, and that completion comes through Christ. And that's how we see shalom. And so when Jesus came, he came to bring peace, not as the world gives peace, but that we would have it, full shalom. And in Greek, it's this, Carter heard me trying to pronounce this. If you read this in New Testament, it would have probably been written in Greek. And so let's let the person do it here.
Ειρήνη.
There you go. You want to hear it one more time?
Ειρήνη.
Ειρήνη.
And that's peace in the New Testament. That's the word peace in the New Testament.
That's Greek, yes. And that would have been, when you hear the angels proclaiming the peace is here, then Ειρήνη would have been, I guess, what Luke would have heard when he was first learning about Jesus, those words in Greek for the Gentiles, for you and for me, who are not of Jewish descent, and who the Jewish people would learn to embrace because Jesus came for all the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we would have peace.
No, I think it's interesting because, I won't get into this whole thing, but we did this little 3 circles graphic on how to share the gospel quickly.
I love a good graphic, but in 3 circles?
There's little three circles of it's broken, he fixed it, complete. There's a whole thing to do, right? Yeah. But you can go up to anybody and they would recognize that the world is broken.
Yes.
That we don't have true peace. And so I love that.
John Lennon wrote a song about it. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, no, I would not. And so I love the fact that we have a starting place. And where this made me go, because I took a class that talked about some of this, it was fascinating. I think of like corporately, not just individually and a feeling, but what the Son of God did for humankind and Gentiles too, because I'll get into that word covenant, new covenant.
Yes.
But it's interesting because, Prince of Peace, there he is in Isaiah. And then Jesus says, by the way, you think meant to bring peace? I came with a sword, and so it's like, wait, what's happening here? Because it's not the Miss America answer.
Right.
It is, there needed something to happen so that all humankind can have peace with God. And I look at it as what it was talked about in the Old Testament with the Old Covenant. Mm-hmm. It was truly a treaty. Mm-hmm. And I never knew this or thought about
like
this.
A contract, right?
It was, like a contract. So back in the day, it was really common in the world. Babylonians and Egyptians, there were a couple of different types of treaties. So between kings, between countries, small and large, all types. But the 2 types of treaties were between more of like equals, superpowers. They both sit down, they negotiate the terms. They equate each other as brothers. And then there's the term for the master and the subject. For example, a great king of the Hittites says, there's literally a quote you can find, "You owe me, I am your great king, you must send soldiers to my armies." And this is a father-son type of treaty. This is where we get, that's literally the language in the class being used was the Sinai Treaty or the Old Covenant. Covenant is more of a biblical language.
Yes.
God uses that one. He picks the terms and he shows us how God deals with humans. He condescends to the human level, which is a precursor that Jesus literally
Isn't that
did
amazing?
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's one unique, this one is unique, that there's the only one between a deity and a people, and this is why covenant is a better word for it. And it just, we went on of like just these, if you could really deep dive in this, there's stipulations, there's witnesses, there's an oath ceremony. You go through the Old Testament and you realize this was a model that God used because they were familiar that other entities did this. So we get to Jesus. And here is a new covenant. And you think about peace from a treaty perspective.
Can I just interject? You made me think about around the world, you might get that list of instructions to put the Legos together or even your cell phone or what have you, and it's all in multiple languages. It's the same set agreement. This iPhone is going to provide you ...
Yeah.
So that everybody would be able to read it. And I think just kind of putting in new terminology like that, those things still exist today, clearly. And that's super important. But this was like the precursor to all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. Well, no, and it was, and
like
obviously
you said, the culture was experiencing that.
The Old Testament was exclusionary, right? It was for God's chosen people. And then here we go with, you see even Old Testament, prophecies, but then you see the language being used by Jesus and in the book of Acts.
Yes.
Here we go. This is now for everyone. This is an all play. And peace, I love that, because you could really deep dive and nerd out, and it's often not the first thing that people go to. But when it comes to like legal standing, tetelestai is what Jesus used, or the Greek phrase that Jesus used, though, that's when he was on the cross. And it is like a pardon. It is the debt has been paid.
Yeah, it's finished.
And so you think about some of these things that it's not necessarily, a lot of people, especially at Christmas time, when we talk about peace, I think we think about, and there's some crossover to what you said, but we think about the Christmas story of, and I'm talking about the one of like all the children, tucked away in, warmth and, just plum drops or sugar plums dancing in their heads, and all that. And we think of that as like this peaceful thing. But God has done something bigger than that and made it where we can even have hope and joy that we'll get to next week, because he has done it, that we are now in legal terms where we can go to the throne room of God. That when Jesus died and said it is finished, the temple veil that was to keep everybody out except for, the high priest, it is 60 feet high and 4 feet thick, and that thing rips from top to bottom, saying now the great mediator, that Jesus is the way to the Father, and you are, through faith, you have this, you're kind of signed in blood, you have this peace oath that we can approach him wholeheartedly and ask. We can ask for forgiveness, we can ask for things, we can just say thank you, but we can talk to God directly because of that peace.
It's so much better than anything that I think people conceived.
Yeah.
But they did have a conception, albeit a misconception. They had an idea, a preconceived notion of what Jesus was going to bring. How was he going to create shalom? And they were frustrated that it didn't necessarily. Have you ever been frustrated? Because it's like, I thought I had these plans, I had these ideas, this is what it's going to look like. And then because I've excluded everything else that it could potentially be, now my mood has changed.
Yeah, I didn't go the way I thought.
Expectations. But it would be like literally coming to the front counter and you've got a coupon for 20% off. And the person behind the register says, actually, you're good, just go.
Right.
And you're like, but wait, I want to utilize my coupon because, the expiration date, I only have a couple more days. You don't understand. It's done.
It's free.
It's just go. But wait, like if there's, that seems ridiculous. But this is literally, this isn't just, hey, you're going to have all your enemies under your foot. It's like, We conquer death. Like, and your sin, haven't you seen that pervade continuous? Even the empire of David, a man after God's own heart. My family and I have recently been watching The House of David, and you have to hold the story like this. I've got my palm open, hold it loosely, because John Irwin, the guy who wrote it, said, look, if you're looking for biblical accuracy, it's not going to all be in there. But he was trying to create a narrative of what might it have been like. And I'm just saddened. I'm watching all of this story play out. I know what's going to happen because I've read the story. I know what happens with his marriage. I know what happens with his father-in-law. I know what's going to happen. And I'm just sad because we see the humanity of people, and we're also very empathetic with it, I think, because we recognize our own humanity.
Sure.
And we're like, it just gets harder. It's never easy. And they have a hope because they've been told about a hope. They will be told, especially during exile times, about a hope. And David was going to be this guy, and my line is going to always be, but I can't imagine what he was thinking in the middle of a cave, when he's trying to outrun his father-in-law, or when his son is literally chasing him to kill him. What is he thinking then? Somehow God's going to work this out. Jesus literally absolves the sin, and it's obliterated. And when he comes again, he will reign and rule.
Yeah.
And it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think of the kingdom differently after the fact they're realizing we're in a treaty, and thank God that he instituted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Well, this is the second of our Advent series. If you didn't get a chance to go watch Hope, definitely do that if you get a chance.
Yes.
And next week we'll talk about joy.
And maybe read through some of the scriptures, some of the terms and conditions.
Yeah, there you go. The terms and agreement.
Because it's actually exciting. Get you that much more pumped.
We'll see you next week on the Anything But Quiet Time podcast.